Good people don't smoke marijuana.
I've known Larry for a long time.
Quiet, numbskulls, I'm broadcasting.
This is the Medical Marijuana Radio Show with Larry Love. All love. I got something here for you and me. Oh yeah, it's the medical marijuana. Whoa, whoa. I got something here for you and me. Oh yeah, it's the medical marijuana. Whoa, whoa, whoa.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to another edition of Medical Marijuana Radio. We have another great interview with some very innovative equipment to increase your yield and quality of your cannabis. We have Glenn Holland from Ganja Grid, and it was an incredible show and tell at times in this interview. So let's get right to it. I think you're going to enjoy it. We'll be right back with Glenn.
This is the Medical Marijuana Radio Show with Larry Love.
And today we're talking to Glenn Holland from the Human Connection. And Glenn is involved with a great project. It's the Ganja Grid Plant Vibration Trainer. You can see it in back of him. Glenn, welcome to Medical Marijuana Radio, and tell us about these good vibes that you put out to the plants.
Yeah, Larry, first of all, let me just say thank you so much for having me on. We've been talking back and forth for the past month or so, and finally got this to happen. So I really appreciate you giving me the opportunity to talk about what I've got going on here. So yes, my name is Glenn Holland. I am a lung cancer survivor. And during my battle, I had an epiphany and created a company called The Human Connection, which is pretty much THCX, with the X being connecting with humans and plants. So The Human Connection. And the first product that we developed is the Ganja Grid Plant Vibration Trainer that Larry just mentioned. And so just to go back a little bit from the story from the beginning, in 2018, I woke up in the morning and I coughed up blood, and such started my journey down a cancer path. And it was already stage 3 at that point. So I was unable to go the complete natural treatment way because it was too close to becoming a metastasized kind of situation. So I went forward with the modern medicine type of treatment. So that's being chemotherapy, immunotherapy, surgery, and then also, of course, added in my natural pieces being diet, exercise, lemon zest, ozone-infused water, and FICO, full extract cannabis oil, Larry. And basically, during that whole time, so February of 2018, up until about June or July, when I had my surgery to remove part of my lung, I showed a 2-minute video every day on LinkedIn to display the battle that I was going through and to give people some inspiration that they can overcome things. And from those 2-minute videos, I pretty much gained about 25,000 followers. And one of those followers actually saw the daily inspirational videos that I was putting out there and reached out to me and said, hey, Glenn, I'm an angel that gives full extract cannabis oil to cancer patients for free around the United States. And I like what you're doing. I want you to be a part of my treatment, of my patient portfolio. So, of course, being a recreational user of cannabis since 1985, I was all for it. So started taking FICO in June, July timeframe of 2018.
Can you tell us about that regimen too, Glenn, please?
I'm sorry, Larry, one more time?
About that regimen, how much you were taking? Were you doing the Rick Simpson thing where you start small and double? And
Right, Larry. So basically, this woman gave me capsules of full spectrum cannabis oil, and the regime that I took of that was basically one capsule a day, and I had a 60-day dosage spread out over those 60 days. Now, what was in that FICO exactly? I'm going to be honest with you. I really don't know the mixture that she concocted for me. I did give her the exact type of cancer that it was, and because she was doing this for free, and I'm in North Carolina, it wasn't like widely publicized of what she did for me, Larry. But a single capsule every day was what I took, and actually I was able to still function for the most part, working and doing all those pieces and not being like high per se. I was still able to function normally.
Did she tell you how strong it was? Was it 100 milligrams of THC? Was it, do you know, can you tell by how you felt if it was a very strong capsule or a light capsule?
So if I took one capsule in the morning, Larry, I felt it, but it wasn't like I smoked a joint or something like that. I felt a little bit elevated and relaxed for pretty much the whole day. It was a pretty strong dosage, I believe. And I was working for John Deere at the time, so I still needed to work. I didn't take more than one capsule, but it was fairly strong in the sense that I felt it after I took it, about an hour after I took it throughout the day. It was
So you did that for 60 days?
60 days, Larry. That's correct. Yeah.
Carry on from there, please. It's very interesting to hear.
Yeah. So during that time, I finished up with the immunotherapy, which I was on a clinical trial, and then switched over to chemotherapy. And most people know what chemotherapy is. It's poison and what it does. And one of the pieces of chemotherapy, I'm not sure everybody knows or not, but the first infusion of chemotherapy is not as bad as the last one, meaning during your treatment, your chemotherapy treatment, it actually accumulates in your body. So after each infusion, you actually feel worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And it actually stays in your body for like up to a year after you stop taking it. So it was a year and a half of hell, Larry. But what came out of it is this, okay? And I always use the analogy of what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, sink or swim. Some stress is good, and I'm going to use the analogy again here in a few minutes. But basically, so I was stressed to the hilt, and come December of 2018, I was at the worst of chemotherapy, and I went to Washington, D.C. with my family, made it through the exhibits, made it through the museums, and at one of the museums, I saw an exhibit called Pulse, Pulse, just like your heart pulse. And you walked up to a screen, Larry, and you put your hand on a screen, and it had like an EKG sensor in it that read your heartbeat and transposed it visually onto a movie screen, but then also into a pool of water. So you could see your heartbeat with ripples. Ba-boom, ba-boom, ba-boom. And that's when it happened. That's when, you're going to make me cry. That's when the epiphany happened. And
Okay.
I just had an epiphany. And I said to myself, I'm a technical kind of guy. And I said, I bet you that I can research that device and vibrate my medical cannabis, which I had started growing it at that point after the FICO ran out. I started growing it myself. I bet that I can make a device that could mechanically vibrate a plant with my heartbeat, therefore injecting my biometrics into that plant, which then would be my medicine. So I technically would have a customized medicine designed for my body. Does that make sense?
I totally understand it, and I just, obviously your epiphany is something that could or could not be real. But you're going to tell me how you've gotten to the place to where you've seen some reaction that has helped you. Go ahead.
Absolutely. Yeah. Thanks, Larry. So that started the process of me researching and finding the right components to make the device. And basically, I'm not going to show you here, but this is my lab, which we're in. And I have on the wall, I have some of the prototypes that I actually started, making for this device. So it's been 2.5 years in the making. But basically, I found that there are companies that make surface transducers in a vibration speaker sense. So gamers may know this, or Dolby theaters, vibrating chairs. Everybody knows that vibration, works really well for some people in a lot of ways, but it also works the same way for plants. And so I made a device that that vibrates the plants from underneath. Was the first device that I made, and I had an A versus B test from seed, growing one with a recording of my heartbeat, so visually you can see it, the plant can feel it, and you, as a patient, know that you are injecting your love into that plant more so than you have ever done before. And so A versus B, I watched it. The one that had the vibration was shorter and fatter and appeared to be stronger and grow faster than the one that didn't have vibration. So I continued to test that hypothesis, but change the design as well, because that's what people do, right? When you're an engineer and you work on product development, product delivery processes, you don't just stop with the first one. In fact, I'm never done. It's a continuous improvement kind of thing, Larry.
Never done learning about this plant as well, Glenn, as you know. I'm sure you're learning every day. I've been using the plant for 53 years and I'm still learning every day. So before we go on, years ago, back in the 70s and 80s, we were told to play music to our plants, and we used to do that. So you're sort of talking about the same kind of thing where they're responding to the music or the vibration. So all right, so go ahead. So you're learning as you're going along, and you're changing things up as you go, which is what a real inventor does.
Yeah. So so after I saw the actual differences start to occur, the scientific word came up, which I'll say it to you now, Larry, and you'll probably have to write it down maybe. But it's called thigmomorphogenesis. So it's a 3-part word, thigmomorphogenesis. It's a Greek word, and what it means is the 3 pieces: thigmo, which is touch; morpho, which is change or morphing; and genesis, of course, which is create. So basically, I found the scientific research behind when you vibrate a plant, it by touch, it changes the chemical components of the plant and creates new growth or new strains even. And so found that word, then started to develop the product and say to myself, I think something's here. And there's lots of research out there on that word, Larry. And like you said, a lot of it has to do with airborne sound, right? Which airborne sound works great for our ears, doesn't work so good for plants. So that's where the touch part comes into it. When you're making a mechanical wave instead of an acoustic one, it actually works much better for the plant because you're stimulating the whole plant, not just the canopy, not just the stem, all the way down to the roots. And if you use living soil, you're also engaging and stimulating the bio components of your living soil. So I've had multiple people ask me many, many times, doesn't my oscillating fan do the same thing? Because a wind can do the same thing. And technically, it does cause some vibration at the canopy level of the plants, but that doesn't make it all the way down to the bottom. And I actually did a Mythbusters video on this. It's on my YouTube channel that shows the difference between what my device does versus airborne sound and versus a fan. So hands down, thigmomorphogenesis, by touching and vibrating creates a better, stronger, fatter, faster plant than if you didn't do that. And I want you to think about this as in, if you have a plant that's grown outside and it's near a highway, or the tectonic vibrations of the earth is present, it does affect how it stresses the plant. And when you take that plant and you move it indoors, and yes, you may have an oscillating fan, but you're losing some of the controlled environmental agriculture that you're trying to instill into an indoor grow. And a vibration trainer like I've developed here actually brings that back into scope, brings it back into play, Larry.
So I learned a new word recently on Clubhouse, listening to some growers, which is terroir. Are you familiar? I don't know the exact definition of that, but it's sort of like getting back, growing in its own environment, with the earth and so forth. Okay, that might be a really layman's explanation of it, but I mean that's where the plants seem to thrive because it's their natural habitat. So, um, do you put like some sensors or vibration things like down on the soil itself to get it? Well, maybe I'm jumping the gun. Do you want to start with your trellis back there and tell us how that works and so forth with the?
Yeah, sure. I'll do that, and I'll touch on your question just a little bit here. There's no sensors that have to go into the soil, because when you touch anywhere on this plant, especially if it's the main stalk area or in enough places in the canopy, the plant acts as a transducer itself. So it actually vibrates down the whole stalk from wherever you put the vibration down into the soil. So there's no need for an extra device that actually, causes that to happen down the bottom. It does it naturally, Larry. Okay. So basically what I've designed is a scrog type of canopy management, scrog being screen of green, which is basically a trellis that sits above the plant typically and creates a even layer for the amount of, or the distance from your light to your plant. And because I made it out of aluminum, it's very lightweight and it's rigid. So it actually acts as a very, very good transmitter of vibration. And that's another reason why I picked aluminum, Larry, is because aluminum is very clean. It's not like the plastic trellis that people use that gets thrown out and ends up in the ocean. This thing you can reuse over and over again. And so when you use it as a scrog, as a canopy management tool, the plant will grow up through it, which I'll show you here in a few minutes on my other one. And as it grows up through it, it just touches the grid and vibrates. And so because I made it out of aluminum and it's a rigid structure, you can also put solo cups, which a lot of people grow as solo cups, or they start out their grows in solo cups.
Exactly.
They just fit right in there.
Oh, that's perfect, dude. Yeah.
And if you start with a 4-inch tapered container that maybe you do clones or tissue culture in, guess what? That baby fits right in there too. Okay. And then the final piece that I found was very interesting, and I don't want to use the word revolutionary lightly here, but for people that soak their seeds to get the water to break the seed hull, sonication or vibration is a great means to help break the surface tension of the water so it makes it through the seed hull. So if you have old seeds, or if you want to germinate your seeds faster or get a higher germination rate, this device works great for that too. So I have right here, just Larry, a couple of acrylic 4-inch containers that fit just perfectly right in there. You can buy them anywhere. And if you fill it up with water and then you put your seeds in there and you let it vibrate with any type of sound file that you put in there, it's going to help break through the seed hull, and you will get a better germination rate faster. And if you have older seeds, it could potentially help breaking through that hardened seed hull and cause that seed to pop. Again, in fact, I have a video of actually showing seeds popping open using this device. So
Can you do this in the dark where they need to be in the dark, or does it, or yeah, explain that.
yeah, so typically when you're soaking your seeds, Larry, you want to do it in the dark. So basically, it's a 24 to 48 hour period of in darkness, using my surface resonator. This is what I call it's a vibration speaker, but to me, it's more than that because this is the revolutionary heartbeat, pun intended, of what is going to change the face of indoor growing, in my opinion. And everybody has one, I know.
This is
Um,
transmitting. This is transmitting vibrations, as sound waves, or.
Good question, Larry. So this device is the premium model. The premium model has a linear transducer in the bottom. So this little guy right here actually does a linear vibration like this. So there's no cone for a speaker or anything like that. You can't really hear it. But this particular model has additional external speakers that you can hear if you wanted to. So
Like Bluetooth.
it is Bluetooth or line in, Larry, right now. So we're working on Wi-Fi enabled to make it a smart type of speaker, but for right now it's Bluetooth enabled, or if you have a line in, for your earphones, you can plug that in there as well.
And does that fit in the grid there?
There's a transmitter plate, which I'll show you in a couple minutes. Maybe I can move this and
I might be jumping the gun with my questions, but I got.
that's okay, Larry. I love it. I've been doing this. I've been doing this for 2.5 years. You're not going to stump me. So there is an aluminum plate in the center of it because I want you to think of biomimicry, folks. And biomimicry is making a design, a man-made design that mimics the natural world. So what you're looking at is actually a spider web. And I want you to think about it like that. Spiders use vibration to sense when they have caught prey. Now, we're not catching prey here. We're actually growing things. But in the center of the grid is a transmitter plate, Larry, that surface resonator, yes, I spelled it resonator, RESIN, that surface resonator sits in the middle of it. And it doesn't permanently attach to it, so you can take it off and you can put it on, you can mix and match it, you can charge it because it is a rechargeable type of feature as well. So there's a transmitter plate that then sends out the vibration through the grid itself, Larry. Yep.
So that's on a plate. You're in the middle of it, and it's sending out these vibrations throughout the aluminum, right? So
Correct.
are the vibrations equal closer to the device as it is getting away from it? Is it equal all the way around?
No, it is not. Another good question. Yeah, it will always be stronger around the center of the device.
How do the plants do, closer to that device and far away? Is there a big difference? Is it a small difference?
It's a fairly big difference, Larry. And when I'll show you here in a couple of minutes what I've done on my smaller device. But the plants that are grown immediately around the surface resonator are shorter and fatter. And you also need to think about, typically when people grow indoors, they have one light shining right down in the center of it. Well, this device works so good for that because it keeps the middle short, but the outside edges grow up high. So it works so well in so many ways. It's just amazing to me that nobody's ever come up with this before.
Have you tried multiple resonators on one grid, and what'd you find out?
So I haven't quite tried that yet because right now, Larry, I build these. I weave this. This is the weaved aluminum that I made a loom out of. I made a wooden loom in my living room upstairs that I weave these together. So right now I can only do about a 4 foot by 4 foot footprint right now. But we are working to scale it to greenhouse and vertical operations. And for that purpose, you will need what I call repeaters, just like if you had Wi-Fi and you had one central Wi-Fi, you would have repeaters that go along. The non-premium model does not have external speakers. and can be daisy chained, Larry. So you can connect multiple ones together. So there's still some work being done on that end of it, but for the homeowner grower, the closet grower, the tent grower, this one surface resonator works great for a 4x4. Will it do more than that? I haven't really tried it all out yet, to be honest with you.
Gotcha. All right, so here we are, and you're talking about popping seeds and then having your seedlings in this particular grid. So go on from there and tell me where it goes from there and how it gets bumped up and what the final growing place is like.
Yeah. Okay. So again, I designed it as a scrog, but I also know that a lot of people are going toward these new autoflower strains, which is the ruderalis mixed in with the sativa or an indica so that it flowers by itself. And because people are starting to use them, I also saw an opening for that too. Because if you use this as a scrog or a trellis, typically when they start to grow up through that, you're going to start to not be able to remove them if one of them gets to maturity sooner than another one, which can happen, especially with autoflowers. If you have different strains of autoflowers, you may have one that matures, gets the trichomes more amber than another one. And so for that purpose, you want to be able to move those in and out, move them around. And you can't quite do that with a scrog type of design. So I went ahead and designed what I call the 1x1 model, which I'll show you in just a second here. And it's a 1 foot by 1 foot footprint. And it also has extenders, Z-links, I call them Z-links, that protrude out from the 1x1 that just wrap themselves around the stem. And so it works really well for you if you need to do maintenance on them, or you want to move a plant in or out, or maybe one of them got sick. So the other design is the 1x1, Mary. Now, before I show you that design, and before I forget, I do have a letter of intent from North Carolina State University. I'm from North Carolina. This is in North Carolina. And NC State is a very large agricultural school that has a hemp program. And we have a letter of intent from them to get this device into research testing at their facility. Because I see this going way beyond just cannabis, Larry. In fact, I'm going to throw this out there because somebody threw it out there to me. They said to me, you know what, if we can get the right frequencies, the right design, the right recipe made, then when we go, and I know this is crazy, this may sound crazy, when we go to Mars or when we go to the moon, and people need to have plants that grow in either a space station or in a smaller area, if you vibrate the plants and you get the same amount of yield in a smaller space, that's bonus, man. That's huge. And so the way that I think about it is, here's this lung cancer survivor named Glenn Holland who gave up everything to go after this epiphany before this thing maybe comes back and takes me. And he designed this device on cannabis, which to me is one of the greatest miracle plants on this planet. And now it can be used for food production or medicine or so many other things that this could potentially have an effect on that could help with the sustainability of the resources that we have right now, our planet, and reduce our carbon footprint.
Wow, that's amazing. That is amazing. The future is incredible to think about what we're going to learn in this. So, all right. So you want to show us the your 1x1?
Yeah, I will. Thanks, Larry. I'm going to turn this camera around, folks. So just bear with me just a minute here. See if I can get this set up right.
Okay. Beautiful.
Okay. So just to help set this up, over to the right here, this is a 3-chamber grow tent, and up in the top is where I have one grid for the vegetative state, and down the bottom I have another grid for the cloning state. So if I want to clone or do seeds, I do it down the bottom, then it gets moved to the top, and then it gets moved over here. And so this is the 1x1. And right now I've got my heartbeat set up to work on it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn that on, and we'll get some heartbeat action here. So I'm gonna zoom in just a little bit here and see if I can get this in even closer. Now I know. So basically, this is a 1x1 model that stakes into a larger model, and then there are what I call Z-links that come out from the center of it that you can hook into more plants. Okay, and then you can see it actually vibrating.
Yes, absolutely.
Because it's kind of difficult, Larry, for me to show you this, but like right now, I see it vibrating. I can watch the leaves vibrate, and when I put my hand on it, I can feel my heartbeat being pumped into this plant. So this plant is a variety that I just turned to the 12-12 mode because I want to keep this short, and I want to envelop the surface resonator with flowers around it, because it's a really good visual of what I'm trying to do here. And again, we could put different types of sounds in there, music. You can do lots of different options here. Yeah.
So how did you record your heartbeat? And is it actually playing a recording of your real heartbeat, right?
Yeah, Larry. So what I did is I got one of those baby monitor apps that has a record feature, and I basically just held the app up to my, the phone up to my heart and recorded it. And then right now it's connected into an MP3 player that plays a loop of it, a 1 minute loop continuously. So 24/7, this thing gets a vibration of my heartbeat in it, unless I come down and I want to change it up and put music or something in there, which I like to do as well.
So you're using about a 25 gallon cloth bag with what kind of soil are you using? Anything special?
Say again, Larry, sorry.
So you're using about a 25 gallon cloth bag to grow in, and I was just wondering what kind of soil you've been using. Is anything in particular?
So Larry, yeah, I'm using Pro Mix soil.
I use excellent.
Right.
That mycorrhizae in it. It's very good.
Yeah, I use Pro Mix. I put a bit of perlite in there, a bit of vermiculite. I use a dry fertilizer and with a cocoa top dressing that I just kind of mix in there. So yeah, that's what I do for that. Yeah.
Have you done much experimentation outdoors? I mean, I know weather could be a problem if it rains, but otherwise, thank you. Go ahead.
What a great question, Larry. It's so difficult. This thing does so many things. It's difficult for me to remember them all as we're talking. So I really appreciate you probing at me. There's another word that I want you to remember here. Let me just move this up just a little bit so I don't have to bend over as far. Yeah. So there's another word out there that I want you to take note of, and it's called thigmopriming. And there's some research that just came out that I've been in touch with some of the research fellows that actually did the paper, and it's called thigmopriming. And people have been using this for centuries to ensure that their plants are hardened for certain environmental conditions. And the way that they've always done this is either by physically walking up to it and doing a little bend action, or just doing this kind of stuff. And what thigmopriming does is in a young plant, it grows it shorter and fatter and stronger, so that if you have, we all know the environment's changing. I don't care what anybody says, the climate's getting worse. If you can harden plants, mechanically stimulating them in a young state, guess what? They remember that for generations. Duh, that's evolution, right? So if you thigmoprime seeds or young plants, then put them outside, they will continue to grow short and fat, and their offspring will remember that as well, Larry. Boom.
That's crazy and crazy and amazing, and hopefully we can prove that scientifically someday.
Yeah, I'm working on it. And I have one more piece before I forget too, which is a huge piece for the larger commercial growers. The acronym IPM, IPM being Integrated Pest Management. You know, cleanliness is next to godliness, they say. That is definitely so when it comes to plants, especially cannabis. You know, spider mites, aphids, thrips. Those are the big three. I think that could, you know, if they infiltrate your grow, you're in trouble. Well, guess what? Guess how those insects, a lot of those insects, guess how they communicate with each other, Larry?
Vibrations.
Bingo. They communicate with vibration. Mr. Male spider mite and Mrs. Female spider mite, when they start going around each other, they talk to each other through vibration. Well, guess what? If we can figure out the right frequency, the magic recipe
Or
to interfere with that is the holy grail right there. Because the way that I look at this is that if I could determine the best frequency, decibel rating, wavelength, all those pieces that can interrupt how insects talk to each other, then if somebody has my device and they see that they have an infiltration of that, or they want to keep that from happening, they can just go to a library and pull down that certain sound file and start playing it. Boom, there you go.
So here's my question that I actually got from a friend of mine who I asked, "Do you have any questions for Glenn?" And so, what will it do to good pests that help the plant?
Okay, yeah, that's a great question. You know, the ladybug is a perfect example of that, or praying mantis. So there again, Larry, you can tell your friend, or if he's listening, there's certain recipes that you have to determine are good for good ones and bad for bad ones. And again, entomologists, I've been working with a few entomologists. There's some research studies out there on substrate borne vibration and how it interferes with certain leaf hoppers. And it's just one of those things that's going to take buttloads of money, Larry, and a lot of research to be able to determine which is good and which is bad, and those kinds of things. So there's a lot to answering that question. I'm sure that we can dial in the specific recipes for certain bugs that would be good for some and bad for others. But that's, again, I'm a bootstrapping startup guy in a basement practically in North Carolina. So anybody who's watching this and wants to get on, you know, hey, reach out, man.
So, how far do you think you are away from like really tuning this up as far as IPM is concerned, and any other aspects of growing in this manner? I mean, are we a couple years away, or do you have?
Yeah, I'd say, Larry, I'd say we're a couple years away. Right now, I've got some testers up in Canada. You know, Canada being federally managed,
Mhm.
they are far and beyond a lot of where we are down here. So I've got a few large scale commercial growers up there that are testing it now, and then I've got a few larger folks in Nevada, Las Vegas, that are in similar types of businesses that have also reached out to me that they have some of my devices as well. So we'll be getting some feedback back from them. All of my small residential customers, I got to tell you, they all just love this thing. They all just feel the connection that you have with your plants. You can meditate with them and all these other things. So when it comes to testing in a large scale, third party, unequivocal data sense, that's probably a year or two away, Larry.
Are you actively selling small grids and resonators to home grow people right now? I mean, or is it all in beta?
No, you can go to www.ganjagrid.com right now and purchase anything from a 1x1 up to a 4x4. They start at $150 and they go up to $300 depending on the size.
Is that including the resonator device? Or
Yes. Yep. And shipping, all in.
so how How many testers do you think you have out there right now?
I would say about 12.
Mhm.
Yeah, 12 to 15, I'd say, off the top of my head, Larry.
Being that it's beginning of June right now, it would be this is a good time to maybe check this out if anybody out there wants to try this in a small way, like you have that one little, what is that, a 4x4 or a 2x4? I don't know what that is.
That's a 2x2 tent with a side. It's a 2x3 actually. So, but that's a 1x1 size inside of that tent. This is a 2x4 scrog, and I've got 4x4s over there. Here, I'll just show you one other quick thing. I got a couple other props here.
Absolutely. And,
I don't know how we're doing on time, Larry.
we have about at least another 15 minutes,
Okay.
which is great. My before you show me what you're another show and tell, have you found any negative effects that had to be adjusted?
Big fat zero, Larry. I have not seen any negative thing. No Hermes. No, none of that. I have not. I have been testing this. This is my fifth grow through this, and in fact, the first grow that I did from seed, again, this is hemp because I'm in North Carolina, showed a 74% increase in cannabinoid content. Now, again, that's from seed. There's a lot of variables. So the next one I did was from clone, all from the same mother, and that one came out with a 10% increase in cannabinoid content. And I have not seen one negative effect from this. And in fact, I've got another customer in out west of us here who's been using the product in his testing facility. He's an outdoor grower mainly, but he's using it for a thigmopriming process to bring half of his product outdoors and the other half that wasn't vibrated outdoors as well to see that difference as well. So
What you're saying is the plant. You believe that the plant has a memory that if you started your seeds indoors with your heartbeat and all that stuff, and you took it outdoors without it, you're saying that the plant's going to remember that it's got to.
that is exactly what I'm saying, Larry. And there's scientific research, not on cannabis, on Arabidopsis, which is the scientific plant that loads of all science people use. They hit their young seeds and seedlings for an hour, 300 hertz, 1 hour, airborne, and they saw that it remembered it when you brought them outdoors. So will it happen for cannabis? I'm not going to sit here and guarantee that. Logic says it will. We're going to find out pretty soon here.
So, tell me about your experimentation with music, because back in the late '70s, early '80s, when I would grow, I would take a boombox out and like all day long, just play the Beatles and all kinds of stuff to the plant, to my plant. So, is there a difference between those kind of vibrations and your heartbeat? And yeah, tell me about that.
Yeah, so good question there. I don't have all the data behind that. I don't. Me personally, I vibrate it with heartbeat, and then when I come down and I want to see them dance, when I want to dance with my plants, I will pick a lower bass. So, of course, reggae. Reggae works really well. Vaporwave works really well. Any type of solfeggio resonance all works really well. To me, if I can visibly see or feel it vibrating, it tells me that that's better than not. And for sure, after speaking with some of the entomologists, the magic frequency for IPM is definitely between 100 and 300 hertz. So a lot more is to come on that, Larry, but I like to say to myself, if you're vibrating the plants and you can see them dancing, then that's a good beat for me. So again, I like reggae, any type of lower frequency that causes a resonance in the grid, to me is the best. Now, time will tell.
Have you practiced or not tested, not practiced, but tested like really low bass vibrations that and Is that what you're kind of doing? You're trying to find the sweet spot, or have you found it already?
No, I haven't found it yet. I mean, I can find the sweet spot. Every grid is going to be a little bit different. So if you are going to use specific frequencies, there are tons of frequency generators out there in app form that you can actually dial, even though it's electronic, dial in the exact frequency. As an example, the 1x1 over there, I think I tested the best frequency to at least visibly see a lot of vibration was 83 hertz with that specific one. Now this one will be a little bit different. Plus how you hang it will be a little bit different too. So that depends. I hate to use lawyer terms there, Larry, but that depends. Yeah.
So, do we know if I'm sure that this question can be answered in some way? Plants in general or cannabis plants, is there like a vibration coming out of them?
Perfect. Yes, of course there is. So here's another caveat to the whole piece. I'm sure people have seen Plant Wave is the company. I shouldn't be saying that. Sorry about saying the company, but there are plant measuring devices where they put EKG sensors onto plants and they make music out of them.
Okay.
And that is they're out there now. There's like 3 or 4 of them that take the electrical signal from the plant and they make it into musical notes. Now, I don't want that. What I want is I want the data before that, because if you understand, if you have a plant that is being eaten by caterpillars and it is stressed to the hilt, it's going to send out a different frequency than a healthy one. And if you get it before you turn it into music and everything, if you have an unhealthy plant, but you have the healthy vibes from a healthy plant that you can then vibrate the unhealthy plant with, then you've got a quicker response to be better, to wellness.
Wow. So, I mean, this is theory right now, right?
Yes.
I totally get that. So, also in talking about theory, talking with you right now and knowing, how sensitive the plants are and they're picking up vibrations and so forth. I'm sure they pick up vibrations from people, like you got your heartbeat in there and so forth. So I do something, I do super cropping and stuff. So I'm starting to feel bad now that when I go and snap a branch, that it's going to be mad at me, even though it
Yeah.
helps the plant grow wonderful. So what do you think in your theory?
Okay. So I love that you mentioned that. And again, this does so many things. When you think about super cropping, you let the plant grow up through a certain amount in the vegetative state. When that's one of the tests that I did with this actually, is I super cropped it and I attached the point at where I bent over my plants was right where I attached it to the grid. I have these little purse locks that come with it. I'll show you one in a minute here. I sell these with purse locks, little twist locks. And so if you have a super crop, and you attach it to this, it's gonna, in theory, it's gonna be mad at you for doing that. But if you send vibration to it, you're actually helping it to get better sooner.
Heal from that stress that we gave it. Okay. Yeah. What else? So we probably have about another 5 or 6 minutes. What else would you like? You want to
Okay.
go with some finished hemp that you had there in one of your experimentations?
Yeah. So, well, here, I'll show you that too. But this is an example. I think you can see this well.
Yes, we see it very well.
Yeah, this is an example of the one on the right was vibrated with music. This was one of my customers that just played music, and he's an Offspring, Tribe Called Quest kind of guy. He put some Wu-Tang Clan in there. All he did was vibrate it with music 24/7. And you can see this one is much shorter than this one. So this is tall and lanky that did not have vibration. And he set it up the same. These are from the same mother. This is from the same mother, re-vegged, and they both were trellised at the same height. But this one, because it had vibration in it, grew much shorter, and you can see the material. is much more fuller than the one that didn't. And again, this is hemp. We're in North Carolina. It's hemp. Okay.
Weigh those two?
Sorry?
Weigh them to see the difference in weight?
No, I haven't, Larry. And I always get scared when I talk about yield because, here's this long stem. Like, where do you cut it? You know what I mean? Like, are you going to weigh the stem too?
Well, I mean, it would show you, even if you weighed it all together, it would still show you the difference that, weight. But
I haven't, Larry, to be honest with you.
So what else do you want to say? We have about 3 or 4 minutes, and then we have to go. But what didn't we cover?
Okay. So the last little piece that I'll talk about because it's close to my heart is when you grow something with your heartbeat, you feel a personal connection with it. Number one. Number two, if you create your own seed from that, which I've done, now I have seeds that were propagated using my heartbeat. So if we can prove that there is a chemical change in terpenes, cannabinoids, whatever have you, by using a heartbeat, everybody's heartbeat is different. So what does that mean? That means that you can create your own customized strain that nobody can copy because your heartbeat is not the same as somebody else's. That's number one. Number two, if we can continue to prove that a heartbeat or any biometrics from a human can help a plant grow, what about if you have a fitness tracker and you tie your fitness tracker directly into the surface resonator so that anytime that you work out or you're working out and you can actually then feel that your plant is also getting better at the same time? That's freaking huge, Larry.
Listen, I totally believe in all of this because, I used music back in the day and it's 40 years later and this is where we've come to. And I'm excited for you and for everybody else that this could, really improve things in the future. So give out how people can get involved if they want to buy small units from you and this summer and try this. Give out it's the Human Connection. Yeah.
So Larry, the name of the company is the Human Connection. The website is ganjagrid.com. On Instagram, it's ganja.grid. Twitter is ganjagrid. Facebook is ganjagrid. It was a great name for me to use because it wasn't taken in a lot of places. So on YouTube, I forget what the actual channel's called, but I'll give Larry the link tree with all the links to it. So yeah, ganjagrid.com is the website. Is it the best website out there? No, but again, when you're bootstrapping and start up and you're doing all these things yourself, you got to start somewhere. So,
Glenn Holland, thank you very much. This is exciting, and I hope you'll get lots of questions from people. And I think I'd like to do also a clubhouse question and answer thing with you as well. So, thanks for your time today, and we'll be right back after this.
This is the Medical Marijuana Radio Show with Larry Love.
Well, I want to thank Glenn Holland from Ganja Grid. It's quite incredible. I also want to thank my two radio mentors, both with the initials HS. Thank you for your inspiration. If you'd like to be on the show, write us at info@mmjradio.com. I have a late night with Larawana show every Friday and Saturday nights at midnight East Coast and 9 on the West Coast. And try and join us. We'll be back next week. Thank you, everybody.